It started with the sound no one in the aviation industry ever wanted to hear. 36 passenger jets, all scheduled to take off before noon, were suddenly grounded across the country. Thousands of travelers stood stranded in crowded terminals. Emergency meetings erupted inside one of the nation's largest airlines. Television crews rushed to airports as regulators issued an immediate fleet-wide suspension. And sitting alone in a maintenance office, a tired single father stared at the torn pieces of the safety report he had begged his CEO to read only hours earlier. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't angry. He was simply wondering how many lives could have been saved from fear if someone had listened before it was too late. Before we continue this unforgettable journey, if you believe kindness is stronger than pride, forgiveness is greater than revenge, and everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community. Graham Mercer had never dreamed of becoming a hero. At 43, his world revolved around raising his 11-year-old daughter, Eliza, after losing his wife to a sudden illness 6 years earlier. Every morning began before sunrise with breakfast, packing lunches, helping Eliza finish homework, and dropping her at school before driving to North Star Aviation's maintenance headquarters. Life was exhausting, but Graham carried every burden with quiet dignity because he believed that doing the right thing mattered even when nobody noticed. For nearly 18 years, Graham had inspected aircraft systems with remarkable precision. Fellow mechanics joked that he could hear a faulty hydraulic pump from across a hangar. New technicians often sought his advice because he never rushed inspections and never signed paperwork unless every item had been verified personally. Some called him overly cautious. Graham preferred another word. Responsible. The airline had grown rapidly after charismatic CEO Preston Harlow took control. Investors loved him because profits soared. Business magazines praised his bold leadership. Employees admired his confidence from a distance but feared getting too close. Preston demanded speed, efficiency, and numbers that impressed shareholders. Delays, even those caused by maintenance, were treated as personal failures. During one routine inspection, Graham noticed a pattern that refused to leave his mind. Several aircraft from the same production batch showed microscopic fatigue around a critical landing gear support bracket. Individually, each crack appeared insignificant. Together, they suggested a manufacturing weakness that could worsen under repeated stress. Instead of dismissing his concern, Graham spent several lunch breaks reviewing maintenance histories. He compared inspection photographs, flight hours, weather exposure, and repair records. Day after day, evidence accumulated. The probability of failure remained low, but if one bracket fractured during landing, the consequences could become catastrophic. That he prepared the most detailed safety report of his career. Every page contained photographs, engineering calculations, recommendations, and proposed inspection procedures. He knew grounding aircraft even temporarily would cost millions of dollars. He also knew ignoring the problem could cost lives. His direct supervisor appreciated the report and forwarded it to executive leadership. Within hours, Graham was unexpectedly summoned to headquarters. The executive conference room gleamed with polished glass and expensive artwork. Graham arrived carrying nothing but his report and quiet confidence. Preston Harlow entered with several senior executives and barely glanced toward the maintenance inspector. The meeting lasted less than 10 minutes. Preston flipped through several pages without reading carefully. His expression hardened with irritation. Quarterly earnings were due. Investors expected record performance. The airline had promotional campaigns running nationwide. Grounding dozens of aircraft based on what he called theoretical concerns would damage the company's image. Without asking Graham a single technical question, Preston grabbed the report, tore it straight down the middle, then again until pages scattered across the polished table like fallen leaves. Everyone in the room froze. Graham quietly gathered the torn papers from the floor. He thanked the executives for their time, placed every damaged page into his briefcase, and walked away without raising his voice. Many assumed the matter had ended. It had only begun. Graham couldn't forget the evidence. Instead of accepting defeat, he followed company policy and submitted duplicate documentation directly to the Independent Aviation Safety Authority, attaching inspection records and engineering analysis exactly as regulations required whenever unresolved safety concerns existed. He knew the decision could cost him his career. He submitted it anyway. The following morning began like every other. Eliza hugged her father before school and reminded him not to forget the science fair later that afternoon. Graham smiled, promising he would be there no matter what. By mid-morning, everything changed. Federal inspectors arrived simultaneously at multiple airports requesting immediate examinations of every aircraft listed in Graham's report. Within hours, all 36 jets from the affected production group were ordered out of service pending inspection. Airports erupted into confusion, passengers complained, television cameras appeared, financial markets reacted instantly. Inside Northstar headquarters, executives panicked as engineers confirmed something no one wanted to admit. Several aircraft already displayed crack progression beyond acceptable engineering limits. None had failed yet, but several were much closer than anyone realized. Independent investigators praised the thoroughness of Graham's documentation. His measurements proved accurate within astonishing margins. The safety authority concluded that immediate inspections had prevented an unacceptable operational risk. News organizations searched desperately for the anonymous inspector responsible. Meanwhile, Graham quietly replaced a hydraulic valve inside another aircraft, refusing interview requests because he believed maintenance workers should fix problems rather than seek attention. Preston Harlow experienced the most difficult week of his career. Board members questioned every executive decision, leading to the ignored report. Shareholders demanded explanations, employees whispered throughout every office. The confident CEO who once controlled every meeting now struggled to answer a single question: why hadn't he listened? At home, Graham never discussed the controversy with Eliza. She only knew her father looked more tired than usual. She noticed him studying maintenance manuals during dinner and gently placing her mother's old photograph beside his notebook each evening. Graham often imagined what his wife would have said, probably something simple: truth doesn't become less important because powerful people dislike hearing it. The investigation continued throughout several weeks. Engineers from the aircraft manufacturer eventually acknowledged that a rare combination of material stress and environmental exposure accelerated microscopic fatigue in certain conditions. Updated inspection procedures were immediately issued throughout the industry. Experts estimated the revised maintenance protocols would improve safety for thousands of future flights. Graham's report became required reading during engineering seminars. Still, he remained the same humble father, driving an aging pickup truck and attending every school event he possibly could. One sunny afternoon, Eliza stood proudly beside her science fair project, explaining how bridges distribute weight safely across multiple support points. Her presentation wasn't only about engineering. It was about responsibility. She ended with a sentence that quietly moved several teachers. She said, "Strong things stay strong because someone cares enough to inspect them before they break." Graham smiled with tears quietly gathering in his eyes. Weeks later, the airline's board announced sweeping leadership changes. Preston Harlow remained CEO temporarily but under direct oversight while governance reforms were implemented. Independent safety officers gained authority previously reserved for executives. Maintenance reports could no longer be rejected without formal engineering review. One afternoon, Preston requested a private meeting with Graham. For the first time, the CEO entered the maintenance hangar instead of summoning someone to his office. He walked slowly past mechanics repairing engines, inspecting landing gear, and testing flight controls. Everything looked different now. He finally understood that profits existed because people like Graham protected lives every single day. Standing beside an aircraft undergoing inspection, Preston admitted that ambition had blinded him. He confessed he had viewed delays as obstacles rather than safeguards. Tearing up the report had become the greatest mistake of his professional life because it revealed how easily pride could silence wisdom. Graham listened quietly. He wasn't interested in humiliation or revenge. He simply hoped no employee would ever hesitate to speak honestly again. Instead of demanding apologies, promotions, or compensation, Graham proposed something unexpected. Every executive should spend one full day each month working alongside maintenance crews, learning exactly how safety decisions affected real people. The board accepted the recommendation immediately. Within months, company culture transformed, executives began asking questions before making assumptions, mechanics felt respected, pilots gained greater confidence, passengers never realized how much safer their journeys had become because one ordinary father refused to ignore what he knew was right. Graham later received national recognition for professional integrity, but the award he treasured most arrived in a plain envelope from a family whose loved ones regularly traveled aboard the affected aircraft. The handwritten letter simply thanked the unknown inspector whose courage reminded them that strangers sometimes protect people they'll never meet. Graham folded the letter carefully and placed it beside his wife's photograph. Years passed. North Star Aviation eventually became known not only for reliable service but also for industry-leading safety standards. New employees learned Graham's story during orientation, not because he became famous, but because his example proved that integrity often begins with one person willing to stand alone. Eliza grew older, inspired by her father's quiet courage. She eventually studied aerospace engineering, determined to design aircraft that honored every mechanic who inspected them and every family who trusted them. She often said her father never saved airplanes, that he saved the people inside them. Before this story comes to an end, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment sharing whether you believe one honest person can truly make a difference, even when everyone else refuses to listen. As the afternoon sun reflected across the runway, aircraft once again lifted safely into bright blue skies. Families reunited. Vacations continued. Business travelers reached important meetings. Children pressed their faces against cabin windows, dreaming about the clouds without ever knowing how close their journeys had come to unnecessary danger. Graham watched one departing jet disappear into the distance before turning back toward the hangar where another inspection awaited. He never considered himself extraordinary. He simply believed that every bolt checked, every report written, and every warning spoken with honesty was another promise kept to people he would never meet. In a world that often rewards speed over patience and pride over humility, his greatest victory was proving that quiet integrity can echo farther than the loudest authority. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May we all remember that real courage isn't found in power or titles, but in choosing truth even when standing alone, because one act of honesty can protect countless lives and inspire generations to come.